Hey you guys, like she said, oh my gosh, this thing is actually on. I thought it was just recording. My name's Kay Pusen. I'm from the University of Southern Mississippi. I have been working professionally as a residence life coordinator for the past 3 years. I've actually been working in housing since the fall of 2014. I started off as a desk assistant and kind of worked my way up the chain from there. The only really interesting fact I have about myself is that I have a dog. Her name is Bean. She's a German Shepherd mixed with a Corgi. She's great. I love her. So I came here today to talk to you guys about training your RAs for the future. So I was fortunate enough at SEAHO to be able to present this. It was my first time presenting at a professional level conference, and I won Best of SEAHO, so I was very excited to be able to bring this to you guys and kind of get to share some of this information with you. So please forgive me if I sound a little nervous because I am. So this is a topic I'm very passionate about. So everybody in housing, residence life coordinator, hall director kind of has a favorite part of their job, whether that be the programming aspect, the student interaction. Maybe some people enjoy being on duty, but I really enjoy supervising my student staff members. It's something that I'm passionate about, it's something that I enjoy doing, and it's kind of what I get up for every day when I go to work. So for the first kind of thing I want to talk to you guys about, it's going to be about things that you guys can do as supervisors to help prepare your RAs. So the first kind of thing I want to talk to you guys about is knowing that every institution kind of has like a general RA model. RAs are usually kind of the same across the board, but there are going to be little differences from university to university. So you need to have a comprehensive knowledge of everything that your RAs are going to be able to get from your specific university. You need to know any thing that they can possibly put on their resume, any skills that they're going to be able to get that can set them apart for future roles. With that, you also need to understand all the transferable skills that they're going to be able to get from your job description. So we talk a lot about in housing, like having all these amazing transferable skills that we're going to be able to give our staff. That's a big selling point when we're trying to hire our RAs, our DAs, all that kind of stuff. But how often do we actually sit down and write out, like pen to paper, a list of all the transferable skills that they're going to be able to get from our job? So back in January, I was doing a presentation with another RLC for our senior resident assistants, and it was kind of a prepping for the future resume building kind of presentation because they're all going to be graduating in May. And one of the activities I did, the first part of it, was going through and I had them write out every single transferable skill that they could possibly get from the SRA job. I had them brainstorm and take a few minutes to come up with these. I received feedback like a week or two later from some of them saying that they really enjoyed that because they don't often take the time to sit down and really think about things that they're going to be able to put on the resume, the wording that they're going to be able to use in order to set them apart for graduate school, for future employment. So I think it's very important to take the time to really make that list and make sure that your RAs understand, because making that visualization is going to help your RAs truly see everything they can get. So to kind of reinforce this, I am going to have a quick activity for you guys because I don't enjoy just talking all the time. So I'm going to break you up into a few groups. I have some pieces of paper, and that is going to have a potential future job of an RA. And I want you guys to take 2 to 3 minutes to come up with as many transferable skills that they're going to be able to use in those future jobs as you can. The goal is to have the most amount of transferable skills out of the other groups so we can make it a little competition. So we're going to do these 2 rows as a group, these 2 rows as a group, the back row as a group, these 2, and these 2. Make sense? Everyone understand? Okay, there you go. Go ahead and hand that to you. And that to you. And hand that to you. So go ahead and take 2.5 minutes to see who can come up with the most. You guys have 1 minute left. You guys got 20 seconds left. Okay, you guys, time is up. So real quickly, I'm just going to ask each group to say what their future job was, how many transferable skills they were going to be able to come off, and really just quickly list through what they are. So I'll start off with the group on the back row.
We had athletic trainer, and so we talked about crisis management, being detail-oriented, having time management, people skills, being a role model, having good customer service, being able to keep records, software, like using software in some way, being a mediator, having some counseling experience, support or follow-up, and that kind of goes with caring concern as well.
So how many was that?
13.
13, okay. So what's this group back here got?
So we had criminal justice, and we had 18, we had mediation, communication, report writing, crisis management, active listening, organization, emotional intelligence, networking, motivational interviewing, teamwork, timeliness, deductive reasoning, customer service, policy enforcement, presenting, team building, empathy, and intuition.
Wow, that was pretty good. So what about this group right here?
Yeah, we had marketing and sales, and we have flyers and ads, creative communication, customer service, problem solving, listening, people skills, communication in general, technology skills, assessment, analytical skills, presentation, networking, creative and deductive reasoning, and crisis management.
How many was that?
14, but I'm really bad at counting.
Okay, what's this team got?
We had nursing, we did crisis response, bedside manner, time management, difficult conversations, problem solving, empathy, team player/member, diversity and inclusion, writing detailed reports, doing rounds, updating boards, intervention strategy, communication, confidentiality, de-escalation, brand management in and outside of work, multiple supervisors, social interpersonal skills, continuing education, shift changes, and long shifts.
How many was that?
21.
What about this group back here?
We had psychology. There's 17. We had counseling, conflict mediation, interpersonal skills, assessment and research, crisis management, advising, documentation, confidentiality, emergency response, listening skills, organizational skills, case management, connecting to resources, educational programming, wellness planning, decision making, and de-escalation.
See how easy that was? Just taking 2.5 minutes to write down all those amazing things. Imagine if you had the physical job description in front of you. It wouldn't take you more than 10 minutes to do this. But the amount of help it will give your RAs to visualize all these amazing things is worth that 10 minutes of your time. So I encourage you when you go back that you are making these lists, that you are showing them all these amazing things and all these amazing skills that they're going to leave with once they're done with us. So, oh, I forgot to change that, it's okay. So the next thing I kind of want to talk to you guys about is knowing your RA's needs. So knowing what field your RAs are wanting to go to is vital to helping them grow. So depending on where they want to go to is the help that we're going to be able to give them now. So if you have a psychology major, there are certain areas of our job that you're going to be able to help a lot in. There are, other majors that aren't as applicable, but we can always find something that we can help them grow on to prepare them for the future. RAs have a very unique role to where they got to do kind of a little bit of every job out there, it seems like. So we need to make sure that we are showing them what they can use, what they can prepare for now for the future. We also need to get to know their strengths and weaknesses. We always talk about utilizing strengths a lot when it comes to RAs, like finding their niche, finding what they're good at. But we also need to be finding their weaknesses, because I think a really important thing as a supervisor and something that's super gratifying is when you're able to take a weakness that they had and turn it into not a weakness. And they're going to go out better than when they came in. So we need to make sure that we are letting them thrive off their strengths and helping them to really hone those in. But we also need to make sure that we are taking those weaknesses and that we're helping them become not as much of a weakness, so that they are holistically prepared to go out into the world. We also need to keep them accountable. Don't let them slide on areas that they're potentially going to be using in the future. I keep using psychology major because it's just like the first thing that pops off my head. But if your psychology major is struggling in difficult conversations and mediation, you really need to focus that in on them, because that's something that they are probably going to be using in the future. And if we don't help with them at now, they're going to struggle with it just as much as when they leave. So we need to make sure that we are being very intentional with our supervision of an RA. Everybody is unique and everyone has different needs, and we need to make sure that we are meeting those needs. And that can be hard because we do have larger staffs sometime, but we need to really take our times and our one-on-ones to really evaluate those needs so that we can prepare them. And something with that, I found that sometimes in an RA role, they find that the major that they thought they wanted to be in is not the major that they wanted to be in. So they could have been a nursing major, but they figured out that they hate working with people. They don't like it when people are coming to them with all their problems, and that's kind of a big thing for a nurse. So a lot of the times in their role, they're going to figure out that they're not as good as at some things as they thought they were, and they may end up changing their major. Crazier things have happened. It happened to me this year. One of my RAs is on her third major change, and she's a sophomore. So she's really starting to kind of figure out what she actually wants and what she's actually good at. So something else we need to be considering is that the world around us is constantly changing. What people looked for 20 to 30 years ago in a job is not what they are looking for now. So an example of this is a lot of businesses 20 to 30 years ago, it was very much like suit, tie, full tux, pencil skirts. Majority of places are straying away from that now, and they're leaning more towards the business casual side of things because they want people to be comfortable and not miserable every time they have to come to work in a full suit. Something else is there's a huge emphasis on employee satisfaction. So, Google, of course, is like the lead of everything. But, they have full game rooms and buffets available for their employees on a daily basis. So they are really leading the emphasis in making sure that your employees are happy, and that didn't used to be a thing. So we need to make sure that we're educating ourselves on the trends that are happening in the world to make sure that we are preparing them for what they're actually going into, not what we have been thinking all these years is how it is. So I'm going to give you all a few helpful activities and exercises you can do with your staffs to kind of hit home some of the things that we just talked about. Some of them are a little bit similar, just depending on kind of what format you want to do it in. So the first one is a job description walkthrough. So during a one-on-one, have the RA bring one or two of their ideal job descriptions with them and pick out the pieces that they can work on in their current roles. A different kind of formatting of that is make a two-sided table on a piece of paper, have one side be their future job responsibilities and the other be their current responsibilities. See where these two things can cross over. And this is really just about showing them what they can work on in the here and the now. We can't give them the degree or the specific, they can't put, I was a counselor in college. They weren't, they were an RA. But this shows them what skills they're able to practice now. Another helpful one that I found is strengths and weakness goal setting. So take whatever job field your RA is trying to go into and have them identify the parts that they think will be the strongest and weakness in. come up with a plan on how to work on the potential weaknesses and how to help them thrive off of the strengths. So again, making sure that we are helping them with their strengths, but we really are helping them with their weaknesses also, because there's going to be things in their future job description that they're going to be kind of shaky on. They're like, I don't know how good I'll be at that, and I don't know if I will be able to do that. And it's our job to kind of coach them and help them through that so that they can see that, like, even though you are nervous about it, like, we can work through it, we can practice it now. So this is a part of the presentation that I am specifically passionate about. The last part, I do because it's beneficial, but this is something that I really thrive off of, and that's helping RAs get to know themselves. So the past 2 years, I've been a professional staff member for 3 years now, but specifically in the past 2 years, I kind of saw a trend with my staff members. And that was that they were hitting the ground running so much every single day. And if they weren't hitting the ground running, they were asleep in their bed. So they had almost no time to self-reflect and see what they were developing into. Because the people who came in to the RA job are not the same people who are going to leave the RA jobs. And we need to show them those changes and give them that time to reflect on everything that they're developing through and all the changes that they're going through as a leader. So a great way to prepare your RAs for life outside of college is help them get to know themselves. If your RA knows themselves, they're going to do so much better out in the real world. They're going to know how they're going to react to things. They're going to know their leadership style. They're going to know how they want to be communicated with. They're going to know all these things, and it will make the adjustment to being a full-grown adult much easier. So there's a lot of different activities and quizzes out there to help your RAs get to know more about themselves. There's a ton of quizzes and activities out there that can help with this, but make sure you're only doing quizzes and activities and worksheets that are beneficial. Everybody loves BuzzFeed. Everyone loves to read those articles and takes those quizzes. I love to know what kind of cheese I would be if I was a cheese, but that's not really what we're going for here. We want to make sure we're doing quizzes and activities that are beneficial and self-reflective. So I have a few listed for you guys, and these are activities that I have found through doing this several times that my RAs enjoy the most and that they are getting the most out of. So the first of those activities is a life tree activity. This allows your students to make a tree based off of things like their core values and how they were raised. This helps to see what is truly important to them in life. So I usually do this during our first one-on-one that we ever had. It really helps them to visualize and me to see exactly what their core values are, where they come from, what they truly believe in, what is important to them in life, because everything they do in their life is going to stem off of that. So really putting it to paper so that they can see and that I can see what's important to them is a good thing to do. There's also a locus of control. This quiz helps to show the students where they believe control of their life comes from, internal or external. So if they have an internal locus of control, they believe that they have the most effect on their life. Any situation that they can get into, they can get themselves out of. An external locus of control is when they have more belief in the external factors around them. Fate, God, any of those kind of external things that affect their life. And everyone falls somewhere on the scale in between that. No one is fully one way over the other, but seeing where they lean is helpful to show them how much control of their life they believe that they have. Another one is an enneagram. This is everyone's favorite. USM had a huge enneagram kick this past semester. A bunch of classes were doing work and stuff with it, and it was super interesting to see the kind of the crossover between what they were learning in class and what I was kind of showing them in our one-on-ones. So this groups people into one of 9 types. Results usually help to point out strengths and weaknesses of each type. They also point out what each type is at their healthiest mental state and their least healthy mental state. So I'm not super into grouping people just for the sake of grouping people to oh, I'm a number 2. I'm only going to hang out with number 2s. But this is just to really help point out the general strengths and weaknesses of people who tend to be like this. And it's good to know, and there's a lot of different aspects of it that you can work on. It's not just strengths and weaknesses. It's going to give you a lot of information about those types for you to kind of work off of. Another one is true colors. I'm sure we've all done true colors. But this groups people into one of 4 groups, green, gold, orange, or blue. This is ideal to show how different types can work together as a team based off of their strengths. So online, if you have them do this True Colors quiz, they also have a lot of like stories almost online that will help guide and show them like through a story how each color kind of works together as a team. So I know one was like a car broke down, and it takes you through a whole story of how each color helped to fix the problem. So this is ideal for groups. I know one year I had a group and there was like 6 blues on my staff and like no greens and like a gold, and it was a year, you guys. But seeing how people can work together and seeing kind of the balance on your team is nice. There's also a love language quiz. Make sure you're looking up the leadership/college version, because the normal one is usually for like relationships that you're in, and it changes up some of the wording when you do the leadership/college version. It's not as like, I want them to rub my back. I'm like, don't rub their back. But this helps to point out how someone feels most appreciated and how they like to be shown appreciation. Not only is this helpful for us to know, like we want to know how to appreciate our staffs, but it's helpful for them to know so that they can communicate in the future right away, like what they need and what they want and how they want to be appreciated. It's not going to be a guessing game. It's not going to be any time figuring out. They are going to have it like, I already know and I can tell you right now. And then lastly, the conflict management animal edition. This groups people into 1 to 5 animals based off of their reaction to conflict. This shows people different aspects of conflict management skills they could work on. So there's a few different animals, but kind of like the scale, there's like, at the one end there's like a turtle, and the other end there's a shark. A shark is very like aggressive and dominant when it comes to conflict, and a turtle hides in their shell. And this is helpful to know so that we can, again, conflict management is like a big thing with RAs, but it's going to help them in the future because even when we're adults, we all deal with conflict no matter where we go. So knowing how they deal with conflict so that you can work on them with them now, those kind of things. So if they are a turtle, okay, well, how are we going to get you to the point of being okay with conflict and being okay with being in the situation? And if they're a shark, okay, how can we work on being a little less aggressive about this so that you're not just being overbearing and talking over everybody? So kind of the last kind of category I want to talk to you guys about, and I think one of the groups said something about this, is emotional intelligence. So this is credited to Wendy Fitz, who's the Assistant Vice President of Student Connections at USM. She's done a few workshops and presentations with professional staff about emotional intelligence, and I think it is something important to bring up to you guys. How many of y'all have heard of emotional intelligence or worked with emotional intelligence kind of stuff? Okay, a good like amount of you. So emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize your emotions as well as the emotions of others. So you're able to tell, I'm about to get upset about this, but you're able to control it because you know you're about to get upset with this. But it's also understanding other emotions. I understand this person's about to get upset, and I have to prepare myself for how they're probably going to react to this. It's also empathizing, so being able to understand that I know they're going to react like this, but I understand why they're going to react like this. People with high emotional intelligence are usually top performing people in the workplace. So people with emotional intelligence, of course, handle people better. They handle their coworkers better. They handle supervisors better. They handle customers better because they understand themselves and they understand people. You can tell when people have a high emotional intelligence from how they react to high pressure situations. So when the ceiling's falling down in the residence halls, how are these people handling it? We're all a little bit panicked, but how much are they not helping the panic because they're making it worse? So being an RA is a job that will allow you to create and develop high emotional intelligence very quickly, but we have to help guide them through it. Again, these people work with students every day, and students are literally just balls of emotions. They have all kinds of emotions. They all come from different backgrounds. Different things affect people differently, and they're going to deal with a lot of them. The one RA on my bottom floor can have up to 72 residents. So she could deal with up to 72 people, like in a semester. It's a lot. And they have to learn very quickly how to handle these people. And they don't even realize that it's about emotional intelligence. They don't even realize emotional intelligence is something they're developing in this job, but it's something that they are developing, and it's something that we can help guide them through. So just a few signs of high and low emotional intelligence. So people with low emotional intelligence have a lack of self-awareness, a lack of empathy, unaware of own emotions and how they affect them. They lash out and they break down often. So people with high emotional intelligence understand their own emotions and how they affect them. They handle criticism without denial, blame, or excuses. They don't take things personally. They're open-minded, they're good listeners, they apologize when they're wrong, and they don't sugarcoat the truth. So these are kind of like the two extremes, and of course, again, everybody falls somewhere in between that because no one's perfect. But we definitely want to try to develop them to get them to the higher end so that when they do go into the real world, that they already have these kind of skills developed. So how can we help our RAs with their emotional intelligence? There are some quizzes and activities that are out there that can help facilitate them. A lot of the more scientific-based ones usually cost money. And I know not everybody has the money to put towards that. So we're going to talk about kind of how to do it for free. And that's going to happen through conversations. So most of the help we can give with emotional intelligence will simply come from conversations and having learning moments. So for an example, a parent was yelling at an RA, and the RA started yelling back. This shows that they have have low emotional intelligence when it comes to conflict, and we need to work with them on developing these areas. So when these kind of high intense pressure moments do happen, and they maybe don't handle it in the best way, we need to pull them in and have these conversations. Okay, why did this upset you? I got a parent was yelling in your face, but how did that make you feel at your core? And how can we prevent this from happening in the future? That's the easiest way we're going to be able to develop their emotional intelligence as supervisors without having to pour money into research-driven kind of quizzes and activities. So even if we aren't consistently having conversations about emotional intelligence, just bringing their awareness to this topic may help them start thinking about it. Again, during those critical conversations, or even just having a quick session about it in your staff meetings, having a session about it at RA training can help them become aware of this topic. And if they understand how important it is to have this, then they'll want to develop it and they'll want to move forward, and they may even do some research on it on their own. So that's kind of the bulk of my presentation, but I do want to know what you guys do with your staff that you feel are beneficial to their growth, whether that's activities, quizzes, whatever it is that you have found that's beneficial to your staff, because I do not have a PhD in this topic. I'm just sharing with you guys what I've experienced in my few years of supervision, but I do want to learn from you guys what you guys do that you think is beneficial that the group could also benefit from. In the back.
I do an activity at the start of the semester with all the students that I've worked with that's called Building Your House, and I've been using it since I was in undergrad, but essentially each different part of the house is a different part of their life or how they view their life or what they love and hold dear to them. So the foundation of the house is their motto or their life foundation that they built everything up on. The chimney is how they blow off steam. So you get to learn a lot about not only the really big things that impact their life, but the fun additions to what makes them who they are, and we all share it as a group. And it's just a really good way to learn different things that you wouldn't typically from the staff that you're in. So I think the roof is how do you protect yourself and kind of close yourself off to people. So it's just a lot of really good areas that you get to learn that wouldn't come up in a typical conversation.
I like that. What you got?
Something we did with our RA training this year is something I created a program called Be the Star in the Room. Utilize so how many are familiar with the STAR method or use of the STAR method? So being able to utilize that and teach them about interviewing skills, kind of going off what you said, teaching them the transferable skills they're going to have to learn, and being able to have them create their own STAR story, so that way they can utilize those within interviews in the future. So kind of creating little journals. That way, long term, they don't have to think about going and spending 3 hours trying to find stories. They can continuously do that as they're in their RA journal. So they can continuously write down things they've experienced, so they can go back, when they go back and be okay, what skills does this next job need? I already have stories lined up and answers for them in advance.
I like that. Journaling helps a lot with RAs to really remember everything.
Something I do, I did it with my professional staff. I'm the chair of our training committee, but also with my CAs is something called vital needs, which is kind of based off of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And it's a list of 25 things that students you would need as a person to get back to being a person outside of the role, outside of academics. And they have to choose 7 that are most important to them, and then I take each staff member 7, and I put it in a bar chart hanging up in my office. So they can see where they're all very similar, and I know when my staff's very upset, I can come back to what they need to be okay. So that kind of takes away from the stress of academics and the stress of the CA roles, the community assistant role, and what they're doing, and reminding them that if they're very stressed, maybe they need to go on a run, because movement is very important to them. A lot of our spirituality, I haven't gone to church in a while, or humor is number one in my whole staff, and I'm coming back to that and taking a moment to laugh at a video online, just to kind of get them back to where they need to be so they can be successful in all their roles. But I keep it as a bar chart so they can remind themselves that they're not alone, and that they have very similar things to other people on staff they might not realize they have similar things to.
I like that.
One thing that I implemented, I came in mid-year. I started a staff meeting something called Be Your Best You. So for a couple of the meetings, like in the beginning of the month, I present on some type of topic or give them some type of tidbit that they can take away once they leave the job. But I also have them present once a month on something or bring some type of topic to the table where we can have a discussion. And that allows them to work on their presentation skills because they may have to present, at new job, or they may have to have some type of small dynamic discussion. And so they have presented on topics such as empathy. Someone talked about perspective and some of the things that's going on in our society today and how we had to have a different perspective. I talked about last week about presentation, always making sure that you're always on your best presentation, no matter where you are, because you never know who's looking at you. So that's something that I implemented in my staff.
Anyone got anything else they'd like to share?
One of the things that we do in terms of like transferable skills is our RA job description is outlined with our Department of Career and Professional Development. They have established competencies for the university, so our job description already has like all the career competencies that you'll get. So like, there's a table at the bottom that says like, you'll have 72 points in leadership and 30 something in digital literacy. So they already know going in when we start recruiting what like career competency things they'll get out of it. And then during all staffs, we pick a competency every month to like reinforce in the RA's bring an activity or something along with the RLC, like reinforce that competency with their job.
I like that.
So what I do in our one-on-ones to kind of allow my RAs to feel comfortable is our one-on-ones are called quality time. So what we do is we have some tea, and so like Wendy Williams, like what's the tea? So what I do is I go down the list of their residents because they have like maybe 30 at the most, and I'm like, ooh, so tell me about this person, tell me about that person, and so they tell me like all the drama going on and how they are, and so what I do is like with the true color test, I'm like, that's a blue, that person is a blue, this is how you deal with that person. And so we kind of talk like that, and it kind of opens them up to, oh, I didn't know that people were different from me. So that's something that I do.
I like that a lot. Anybody else? Thank you.
So something that we did with our staff was, so myself and another RLC, we oversee a staff of 29, so it's quite a large staff. So in a 1,100 person building. So it's quite a big number of people. So what we did with the help of our 2 SRAs was we came up with questions and we divided them into easy, medium, and hard categories, and we had our staff sit in a circle. And they were thought-provoking questions, with the easier ones being kind of more surface level and the hard ones being like more deeper, more emotional as we start to see some emotion from our staff come out. And what was really cool is that our SRAs really wanted myself and the other RLCs to participate, so they actually facilitated the whole like event. So it was very interesting to kind of see the dynamics, and I think that they really appreciated us being really vulnerable, and we've seen like a total 180 from our staff since then because they really broke down a lot of barriers. Pretty cool. Doesn't have a name, so.
That's okay. Not everything in housing has to have fancy pun names. I know I saw a hand over here at one point. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have all of our RAs do the strengths finder, so they can find out what their top 5 strengths are, and then in our staff meetings we do different activities that are either self-reflective, so they can talk about what they bring to a team, but also find out what kind of teams they work best with. So those are going to be questions like, what do you lead or what do you do best with? They can use their strengths to talk about those areas in a positive.
Yeah, I hear a lot about, I haven't personally taken one, which is like wild because I feel like everybody has. But I've heard a lot of great things about like Strengths Quest, Strength Finder, all that.
I've been doing a little less activity-based and more conversation-based during our one-on-ones. I really have kind of tried to watch and see how my RAs are interacting with everybody, and I watch their behaviors and what they can improve upon. And with that, like during our one-on-one, I'm like, hey, I notice you do this a lot. And they're like, oh, I do? And we have like a really open, honest dialogue about like why they do that and how that becomes that way and like how to improve upon it if it's something that they need to improve on.
That's good. Anybody else got anything else they want to share?
It's really not necessarily activity, like she said, it's more so one-on-one, but we have intentional interaction, so like cardinal calls, tech talk, stuff like that. I just ask them those questions that they ask the residents because nobody would say not do that, and it's meant for growth and the conversations that we can have through that. They make my one-on-one so much easier, and they make their growth like I can actually measure it now. So
Yeah. And that's like, it doesn't matter if it's not an activity or quiz. It's like conversations are going to get you the farthest sometimes. Like, I mean, usually it's going to get you the farthest.
So I partnered with Career Center and kind of used my background, and I had each RA create a resume as well as their LinkedIn profile, because most often when they're interviewing or they're having that first internship or they're seeking something beyond, they don't have that first tangible document to present. So it's been based on your conversation and having that rapport for them. It's a safe space for them to come in and show you their resume with their draft. And then also working with career services so that their first online present isn't Facebook-esque, and they can show a quality or articulate a quality experience to get an RA listing some of these transferable skills. And not put a picture of them in their dog.
Yeah, I actually heard from my coworker, and I didn't know this, that you're supposed to Google yourself every month to see what your top results are. Especially when you're about to go into the professional world or you're in the professional world, Google yourself every month. And that's something I had my RAs do actually a few weeks ago. I'm like, Google yourself, see what comes up. I'm not going to Google you because I don't want to know. But Google yourself and see what comes up so that you're making sure you are having a positive online presence. Anyone else want to share anything?
I've utilized our teams utilize the Basic 2.0 residential curriculum, and I think you're actually presenting a session here. But essentially they have like this deck of cards that you can go through on your weekly staff meetings, and so we would actually go through those cards and those activities. A lot of them are things that the RAs themselves are actually already doing, but it makes them more aware of a specific skill that they might have that's applicable to the workplace, and so they kind of do these little projects and they're aware of what they're doing. And actually at the end of each year, if you go through like the reapplication process for RAs, they get to look at that holistic package and what they've done for the year.
Anybody else?
I know something I was just thinking about. We attempted to give RAs an opportunity to address kind of issues related to social justice and inclusion a little bit more deeply. And so we have a position for like members on staff to do it, but how we kind of make it where on my team we can all kind of experience is where we'll have a little session in the staff meeting. It's called Rising Topics. So we'll take something, it could be anything, and I kind of let the students work with myself to pick it, but it'll be something like the Colin Kaepernick settlement. We'll have conversations about it, but because what we see is that people tend to, especially RAs, like they want to avoid areas where they might experience dissonance, or their residents might challenge them on a topic and they don't know what to do. And so a better way for us to just like, well, let's do it as a team. It's going great, and it's also caused like we embrace silence. And so, but yeah, those are ways to kind of give them that exposure as a team and try to put that outward. So.
Anybody else? Okay. Well, I want to thank you guys so much for coming here. Again, this is, my second time now presenting at a professional conference, and you guys have been very interactive. Thank you so much. If you want any of the links or PDFs to any of these activities, I'll have a sheet up here that you can put your email down, and I will send you that and any other activities and links that I have for you to use during your one-on-one. So if you're interested in that, you can come up and see me, but I believe you have an exit statement.
Before you go,